stay in front. And if there will be any questions,
Hey everybody. Hey, just want to say real quick, so the co-writer, co-director, and the lead role in the film, Tony Vollmer, he was not able to make it to the showing tonight, but he played such a huge part in the making of this film. I just wanted to, just give him a shout out. So does anybody have any questions? Okay.
What inspired you to do this movie?
Well, basically I was funny story for you. I always did not like mayonnaise from when I was little kid.
I
mean,
can't
my whole
stand
life.
mayonnaise. I hate mayonnaise.
But I never realized that. I think the way it turns out, a lot of people are kind of, I don't know, maybe a little bit in the closet about. But remember what happened is I had this epiphany when, I'm telling you, it was like 1997, 98. It was like the late 90s. I got my first web-based email, Yahoo. I'm like, well, you know what? I'm going to go with holdthemayo@yahoo.com. I'm going to make a statement on my, on my email. And then what happened was Yahoo, of course, after I submitted that, said that name's been taken. I'm like, what? How can that name be taken? Who else would think of something like that? I didn't really think, it was that much of an extreme movement that someone else would have that. So, kind of, just for the hell of it, I just ended up sending an email to holdthemayo@yahoo.com because I had to do hold that mayo. See, I had to change the to that.
Right.
And I was a little annoyed about it, but at the same time I was kind of curious that this person could be like me. So, send the blind email. I get this message back saying, how this person felt. It was this woman, her name was Beverly, she lived in California. Remember, she said she thought, remember this is the 90s, she thought it was, basically a plot by Saddam Hussein to take out Western civilization with spoiled eggs. That's the email came back. And it sounds like that sounds like something like I would say. So I was like, wow, it really, I realized more, it really is sort of like a love-hate relationship. So I started to get to thinking that, if, we just have some fun off of that, and if we just take it to another level, and, just make it larger than life, and, make it seem like a war, and then, just start, Tony and I started doing the research, or celebrities are against it, the leader of the free world, hates mayonnaise, so, that just inspired, a lot of potential ways we can just kind of integrate this with American history and American culture and just have a lot of fun with it. I mean, mainly we just want to have fun with it.
Right.
I mean, like all good film, it comes from the heart. Like in my heart, I really do hate mayonnaise.
Right.
Like, kind of not making it up. But Tony, likes mayonnaise. So I think that helped the project as well. We kept it fair and balanced. And Mayo Eater on the team as well. But that's kind of how that all evolved. And then really the ultimate kicker was, in terms of where to go with this, was the whole, there's a scene in JFK, I'm a huge fan of JFK, where Donald Sutherland is talking to Kevin Costner, and, he's a whistleblower, and he's about to, unravel this conspiracy, and he tells him that, he worked for Black Ops, Black Operations, he was an intelligence officer. And I got to thinking, well, Black Ops, if we just change that to White Ops, everything that we're kind of thinking about in this film, the metaphor carries over perfectly. So that's what kind of led to the whole cartel, the big Mayo thing, and them being like really secretive. I mean, and a lot of this movie, there's a lot of truth in this, and I strongly feel that they are sneaking this into the diet. They really are. I mean, there should be warning if you're biting into a crab cake. Why does there have to be mayonnaise in that? I just think that's really weird, and it's not something that's really well known. So.
Well, fantastic, great job.
Well, yeah, I really
funny.
appreciate that. Thank you so much. I mean, it's just as you know, just making a film, it's it's just it's a labor of love. So
Yeah.
it's so nice to be able to kind of screen in front of a live audience and really just kind of get that direct real time feedback. Because we're making this thing in a bubble. Sometimes.
Yes.
Have you made other documentaries? Is this your first one? Or how long did it take the process to put this one together? There's just it just keeps coming, all the Mayo related, fun. And I just wondered how long it took to put all that together, if it came up in improv or what happened.
Well, there really wasn't too much improv. I mean, Tony and myself, we both came into this as, we feel we were seasoned writers, comedy writers, and we've written scripts in the past. But we decided we were just going to dive into making a movie. for the first time, because we had the script and we loved it. We thought it was really tight. We thought it was really funny. But you just go out to Hollywood and convince them to make a movie about condiment. Like it's hard to express that vision. So we just were very empowered to just go ahead and kind of make this ourselves. This was our first film. Usually your first film is a short. We just kind of we dove into the deep end of the pool and we made it a feature. The one thing that's great about mockumentary is a lot of indie film you start out with documentaries, so it's an opportunity to really just have a lot of really cool like VOs and cutaways like you see in docs. And in this film it was really helpful because the Mayo conspiracy is so vast and there's so much to it. There wasn't any way to get around like some of the monologues that Tony had in the beginning about explaining where things came from. But if you look at films like JFK and Devil's Advocate, when you have that really impactful long monologue, the way they get away with it, because it's not a novel, it's a movie, was with the quick cutaways. And Al Pacino in Devil's Advocate is talking about there's a million Eddie Barzels jogging into the future. He goes on for 20 minutes about this guy but it keeps cutting to him jogging and him being attacked and stuff. And he had those quick cutaways. So that was really kind of our goal with this, in the sense of making a mockumentary. We were able to bring in that historical aspect of it and really just kind of cut things up and make it fun. And the Oliver Stone movie as well, JFK, he's always cutting back. It gets grainy. It goes to black and white. I mean, that was certainly an inspiration in terms of the look and feel of the film. So anybody else? Actually, can I ask a question? Just let me do a little survey by show of hands. How many people love mayonnaise? How many people just can't get enough of mayonnaise? Okay. Now leave your hand up if you were offended by this movie then. And what about the Mayo haters? We got some Mayo haters in the house. Nice, yeah. So there you go. So it is a divisive condiment. You can't really deny it.
It's got no flavor.
What is your next step for this film? Are you have already shown it at other festivals? Are you looking to submit it to other fests? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what we did again, and this is really helpful. We're from the Philadelphia area, so we came all the way out from the city of brotherly love. Bob Taylor, who's sitting right over here, you might recognize him as Lumpy. Bill Bond, right over here, is one of our cinematographers in the film. So we actually had some people come out. Max Kay, who was Mr. Splooge, was an awesome Splooge. He wasn't able to come today, but he came out here and he's with us at the big kickoff dinner last night. So really what happened was, we finished the film, was in the can, and we did focus groups. And what we did was we rented out this really cool artsy theater in our neighborhood. We had a couple showings there. And we got all this great feedback, and it was nice. And again, we knew we had a film that was getting lots of laughs, but we also got lots of good feedback too. We went back to the editing room, we cut it up, we tightened things up. So that was a pretty long process, even when it was done going through the focus groups, and that was 5 or 6 months of 2 showings and sort of, making the changes that we wanted to make, and then we started doing the festivals. We're calling this our California premiere. You can also call this, United States premiere. Because if you don't include the focus groups, I'm not sure technically if you're supposed to include that or not. But our first festival was the Muskoka Independent Film Festival in Canada. So officially, I guess we were shown in Canada, which I thought is very fitting as well, because Canada, they're kind of really into their Mayo up there. So and I couldn't make it to the festival. I decided I really had to save up for San Francisco. We won the target here, so I wasn't there, but it would have been kind of interesting to be there. So moving forward, we want to continue doing some more festivals, and potentially, just see what our options are in terms of just getting it out to the public. Maybe a video on demand situation. That would be really cool. And exciting news is that Tony and myself, the crazy minds behind the Mayo conspiracy, are already 30 pages into our next feature, which is called Fear There and Everywhere. We even mentioned it in the closing credits.
Yes.
And it's not about food. Because we're not going to be one-trick ponies, but it does have a little bit of a fun, kind of outrageous sense of humor that you kind of see in this, but the topic is completely different. So we hope to be maybe rolling out that maybe at TWIFF 2016. That's always a possibility.
So how long did it take
Oh,
to
gender.
complete the project?
Oh, yeah, yeah, okay, and yeah, because that, yeah, and I didn't, never really ask the second half of the previous question, so thank you so much for asking that. The actual filming itself, it was spread, I mean, it did take about, it took about 8 or 9 months to go through everything, and then what happened was we had a fairly long post, process, but, you know, we got done post, and then we did the focus group, so the whole focus group thing, that just added like another 5 or 6 months to, I mean, I guess you could, that just basically ended up extending, you know, post by a good half a year. But I really want to say that I really recommend focus groups. I mean, especially for first time filmmakers. I know for us it was really huge to be able to get that, you know, that perspective. You're just too close to your art. You're coming out of this, and it's funny because, you know, then you start getting into the festivals and you get some distance and you realize, you start thinking, well, why couldn't we see what people were telling us that was just so obvious? You're just too close to it, and time gives you distance. You don't always have the luxury of time when you are, you know, dealing with, you know, the project of making a movie. So I don't think the focus group slows you down. I think you take the time to do that. I think it actually kind of saves time because, you know, when you go into the editing room and, you know, it's your baby and you have to go in there and cut it up, and that can be a little painful. It's just you need guidance, and that was just really extremely helpful to us. And
Will you be paying the actors in the next film?
yes, actually, you know, another great question. So the cast and crew of this film, you know, they work for movie credits basically, and for the love of the project, and they believe in the project, and, you know, Tony, I really appreciate that. But really, our goal with this movie from the get-go, the Mayo Conspiracy, we were hoping this could be, you know, a stepping stone to something bigger in our next project, and by bigger, I mean, you know, like a, you know, larger budget. So the goal for that would be, yes, I mean, we would like to be a paid situation, and it's going to be a little bit more grueling as well. So I think we're going to have to do that. I mean, this was a mockumentary; we kind of got away with it, but moving forward, yeah, we want, you know, we want to just, you know, keep on, you know, keep on going up.
Do you have any plans at all in the future of having an alternative version of this that might be a short? Just like cutting it into some type of a short?
Yeah, that's a really good question. This, you know,
I love it the way it is. We do a film festival too, and I'm thinking of so many fests that are short film festivals, and audiences would love it. Do you have any plans to create another short of it?
you know, that's a really interesting idea. We have in fact, I was just having a conversation earlier on about, you know, we're from Philly, and there's a film festival called the Westchester Film Festival, and people are asking, are you putting it in there? It's like, no, we can't. It's a short. But I would say that I have I was the editor of this film as well, and I have enough confidence in my editing ability that if you know, someone put a gun to my head and said, you know, make this a short, we'll get in the Sundance, like, I really could do it. I mean, obviously, I'd have to cut jokes out, a lot of humor would be lost, but I think the storyline could be told in maybe 20, 25, 30 minutes. It's like an interesting idea.
It's really cool message with, like, you know, just the health side of mayonnaise and everything. I think with our students, we have like a lot of healthy lifestyles focus and stuff, and a lot of people I think would really respond to the message of the alternatives to things that might be like mayo that you sort of just have always eaten, never really thought about.
Yeah.
So it'd be a cool way to get the message out, because there's so many film fests for those short films, especially for kids and high schoolers, and, you know.
That's a cool idea, and there's precedent for that. I went to an independent film festival, the Philadelphia Independent Film Festival. I'll give that some props. I know, you know, the festival director, Benjamin Barnett. So it's a great festival, and I saw a fantastic mockumentary there. Just at the start, I was just trying to make the Mayo one. It was really nice to see, just to get perspective. You know, it was about zombies, so it wasn't really, the topic was completely different. But in the Q&A afterwards, we saw a feature, and he was saying how he has this thing as a short in short film festivals, and I thought it caught me a little off guard at the time. And I started thinking about that was really smart, you know, because it really kind of expands your audience. So.
And they got and watched the full.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the health angle, just a quick little tidbit for you, because we're in San Francisco, and I think this is important, people should know this, that we have a case of life imitating art. I don't know if people in the audience tonight are familiar with a product called Just Mayo. It's made by a company called Hampton Creek, which is a San Francisco-based startup company. And they were sued by Big Mayo. They were, because they didn't want them, putting, mayo on the label because it's egg-free. It's an alternative mayo. Well, guess what happened? So it looked like, the lawsuit ended up getting dropped because, Big Mayo looked like total bullies, trying to, it's just, these are like vegetarians and stuff. It's a young, like, what are you doing? Like, public opinion turned against them. So the lawsuit gets dropped. But get this, and this was like a year ago. And this literally came out like a couple weeks ago before, we're making plans for this festival. It turns out, due to the Freedom of Information Act, they uncovered all these like hidden emails between the mayonnaise cartel, Big Mayo, like all the big companies, right, the FTA, and the egg lobby, called the American Egg Board. And there was a real life governmental conspiracy. And that's illegal. You're not allowed to use government funds to like target like a specific company because you're in bed with Big Mayo, which was clearly the case there. And I'm reading the story, I was like, oh my god, like this is my movie, this is our movie over here. And then I remember telling Tony about it, kind of blew his mind. So, and it's the fact that that company was based in San Francisco. So we're going to follow that story. We really are. They're saying there could be some congressional hearings. And there could be a way to maybe kind of do some marketing and tap into that with our film to kind of see how that plays out. The second thing is, in terms of marketing, I would just love, it's going to be so hard, but if I can just get like a Rachel Ray or Jimmy Fallon just to know that this movie exists, because their passion against mayonnaise is time tested, I don't really question that. And I'm telling you, if they just know about it, at the very least we get like a tweet or something, it could be huge, in terms of us building some momentum. It's just really, really difficult when you're kind of outside that bubble. You got a network, you have different degrees of separation. So we're conniving, trying to get some ways to try and get that to them. But like if anyone ever, happens to bump into Jimmy Fallon or Rachel Ray in the street, you gotta let them know that you saw this really cool movie that's, blames mayonnaise for pretty much everything, that's happened in American history. So
Any more questions?
Did you have to like get permission to use clips from Jimmy Fallon and Rachel Ray and all that?
yeah, well, that's a really good question. Well, first of all, a lot of those like stills and stuff, a lot of cutaways. We had an artist on the film that kind of drew like different scenes that we wanted, like Mitt Romney in front of this arch in this park where we filmed. The actual celebrity stuff, we did lots of research into fair use with that, and we just kind of read the law and we talked to a lot of different people. So we really, filmmaker. That's there to protect the filmmaker, but you have to use that responsibly. So the three key things that you want to do when you're claiming fair use, and you really want to make sure that you do this to the 10th degree, which is you want to keep the clip as short as possible. Because the claim fair use, you can't really throw anything in there that's going to compete with the original episode. So they're just like quick, like 4 or 5 seconds tidbits of just them proclaiming their hatred of mayonnaise. And you want to have some kind of original narrative over that, because you're not just, it can't come off as you're just kind of showing what they did. In our case, we really have a narrative and an opinion about what that means and the significance of like celebrities and the president being against mayonnaise and how that's turning the tide. Like really, we made it relate to our story. And then finally, it's better. It doesn't have to be. It's not set in stone, but it's better if it's nonfiction as opposed. There is precedent for fair use in taking fiction, but it's much better if it's nonfiction.
Thank you so much for your explanation.
And thank you. I just want to thank everyone for coming out to see our film. I really appreciate it. I know Tony appreciates it as well. So thank you very much, everybody, and thanks for all the great questions as well.